Hey, Donnie. Blessings to you, brother. Thank you for coming in. I know it's been a couple of days, but I see so much anger and aggression and toxicity online. I wanted to do a video today, um, you know, that could possibly help. You know, um, the topic that I've been sticking to, dealing with brother Kevin, and his brother had a divorce online, and it was a lot of toxicity with that. It was a lot of toxicity with the Kevin situation, and you know it's a lot of healing and growth and the changing of minds that need to go on. And sometimes people don't necessarily even realize that they may be in a state where you know, they are in toxicity, that they do need their a mind change. Some people think, well, they've moved on from things and they're fine. But people don't realize that you tell on yourself through your conversation, through how things affect you, through how you respond to certain things, your behavior patterns, um I got a video I want to show everyone, and have some dialogue on it. It's with brother Kevin. He did a few years ago, and it was extraordinary. It was helpful to me, so hopefully it will be helpful to others, with everything that's coming to a close. I just felt like it was good timing to you know get people to basically, um find some inner peace for the things that may have affected them so harshly, to the point where, we're online. Chatty, thank you for coming through, Queen. We're online and we're causing toxicity amongst the internet towards people we don't even know, you know. So hopefully this video will help out. I'm gonna go ahead and start playing it, and everybody is welcome to give me, um their perspective, insight, because this isn't just growth for this is also growth for me as well. Let's grow together. Let's make some things happen together. Let's see.
Rise and shine, beautiful souls. Today, I want to talk about ego. Many people today are trying to do away with or destroy what we call our egos. But I want to tell you guys that is a battle that you do not have to fight. Why? Because your ego does not exist. What is an ego? An ego is how you perceive yourself, the persona that you identified with. Person comes from the word persona. Persona means mask. So it literally means the mask that you go out and wear, the mask that you have been wearing for so long, you think it's you.
Now, what I want to break down with that is a lot of people don't really understand this sometimes. But in most cases, the ego and the mask that we have are built up through a lot of trauma. Um, I have a great interest in childhood trauma and the mental development process, right? Think about it like this. When was the first time you realized something? Was it when somebody told you, or was it when you discovered it yourself? How did that make you feel? Did you get any answers to comprehend or to fully understand? Or did you process it through your effects of emotion? Okay. Think of this: a mask is like an onion, and it has layers and layers and layers and layers, and it becomes very heavy. And an ego is something that protects you. And the ego is mainly protecting you from things that has affected you from before. So when you were a child, and you're in school, let's think about it at school, right? And somebody says, Truth Slayer, thank you for coming in, Queen. Somebody says to you, I don't like your shoes. But when you had your shoes on that day and you came to school, you didn't see a problem with it. But now that somebody has brought it to your attention that your shoes aren't likable, now you're questioning your shoes. See, when in childhood, the healthy effects is to learn how to discover yourself. But when you grow up with trauma and toxicity, sometimes you're learning to discover how to fit in or how to become something accepted or not so visible to be mistreated. You try to find a way to blend. All of this is a built of ego and a mask. Okay? So now what you're doing now is now the next thing you're going to do is tomorrow you're going to figure out, well, which shoe should I wear? Are they going to like this shoe? Are they not going to like that shoe? So now you're wearing shoes according to how somebody may feel about you. And this is how trauma works. Some of us have been, and I know in the saga, a lot of us have been affected with trauma through domestic violence. I've heard of some molestation stories. I've heard of, very horrific things that happen in childhood. And it's a common thing that has to change, of course. But sometimes most of these things that happen to us, we don't always have the answer. They don't always necessarily get resolved. Um, when we have things in our mind that aren't necessarily communicated or counseled through, the ego starts to build up a defense mechanism. And so now throughout life, you build up a perspective of life and you build up a judgment towards things, mainly because of fear of not wanting to be in that situation again, or a victim of not wanting to be in that situation again. And so it's so easy to look at the next scenario and see if it's relative to what has happened to you. And in this case, you're only some people say, well, I thought I moved on, I'm okay, and things like that. But when you have built up a mindset or an understanding based upon this, it's not moving on, it's become your person, it's become you. um So what we have to do with this is we have to, when we go through healing, we have to address what it is that affected us. We have to address how it affected us and how it affects our everyday lives. How do we communicate because of it? How do we see things because of it? How do we communicate? How do we form relationships and bonds with people? How do we socialize? How do we do anything because of the certain things that has had affected us in negative aspects? Your ego is there to protect you, but most of the time, when you have an ego based off of emotions and not logical understanding, it it keeps you away from growth. It becomes a painful thing to address those things. It becomes a moment of fear to even try to see another way. And they'll say, I'm right, I know I'm right because this has happened to me. But that is the ego telling you that every scenario and every situation has a resemblance, right? So the best thing that we can do with our mask is try to peel away at this onion to get to the root, to discover what it is that started this buildup of this heavy mask that a lot of us adults have. Okay, let's see what else Kevin says.
Okay, as you grow up You get a name, you get a gender, you get a religion, a denomination. All of these things you begin to accept and identify with as your own. You even behave as if they are actually you. Based on the race you are, someone can say certain words to you and offend you. Based on the religion that you are, people can say certain things and offend you, right?
Right. Like I gave this story on Ashley D's panel, and I stated how I didn't know that I was light skinned until I went to school. My grandmother, she's a darker skin complexion. And I love my grandma, y'all. She was a big part of us being raised, right? And when I went to school, it became a racial things where if I would hang out with the white girls, I would be called, or a white girl or mistreated, or the black girls would tell me, I'm white and, mistreat me because for whatever reason, my hair was longer. Negro Rap, thank you for coming. And all of these effects, I started to realize that I was becoming into trying to find a way to fit in as if I wasn't black. You get what I'm saying? Because I'm no longer discovering who I am for myself. I'm now discovering who I am for others. And that is a part of the ego, and that is a part of the mask. And the more trauma that we build on this mask, the more trauma that the ego has to defend ourselves from, the harder it is for us to heal and grow and be able to see things in a different perspective. Okay? And so that even comes with our social settings, our belief systems. Religion has a role with that at times. Our jobs, they have a role with that at times. Our families and traditions have a role with these things at times. And some things aren't necessarily even bad, but communication is where things are properly understood. And most of the times we don't necessarily have that.
So, what do you do to get rid of ego? Simply focus on who you truly are, who you are internally. Take no thought for what's been told to you or the opinions that's spoken over you that shapes who you accepted yourself to be today, right? When you're a child growing up, many people are going to give you opinions that they have towards you, right? Your parents, your elders, your peers, your teachers, the list goes on. People are always going to tell you what they think of you. Somewhere along the line, we begin to accept that as who we are. My
Now, see, this is the thing. And I tell people all the time, in everybody's life, you play a character. We all have parents, right? You have a mother and a father, right? In their lives, the character you play is their child. You have siblings. In their life, the character you play are their siblings. But in discovery of who you are for yourself is the most important thing. And a lot of people forget that. You ask somebody, say, who am I? Who are you? And you will say, well, I'm a mother or I'm a father. I have three brothers. I have two sisters. I have a mother. I have a father. I'm a granddaughter. And you'll say, I have this job and I have these things. And most of the times we believe that this is the makeup of who we are. And it's not so. And most of the times, especially in the Black community, we don't have an opportunity to always figure out who it is that we actually are, because with our trauma development, we've been spending a lot of times trying to find out who we are according to everyone else. And with this saga, I've realized a lot of things. Most people are able to, commune because of things that they can relate to, like trends or, styles or, you know, different things that they agree upon. In the moment that there's a disagreement, it's so easy to see how, you know, frustrating people can become towards each other, how things can be so easily attacked. Um, and all the genuineness and all the purity of it all, it becomes non-existent, as if it never even happens. You know, with narcissism, they talk about the monster, how the narcissist is the monster, right? And a lot of us have narcissistic traits, right? Because most of the times when we are affected with trauma and we carry those things within our ego and in our mask, we don't necessarily realize how that affects the next person. We can't see the wrong that we do to the next person. Brother Terry, thank you for coming in, bro. And so, you know, sometimes you'll say, well, I don't know what happened and I don't know what I did. But in most cases, it's the things that it's a self-destructive thing. It's a trait, and it's a thing that most of us are unaware of. You know, we become more selfish with ourselves in a destructive manner that we don't necessarily understand the effects that we can have on others. It's a buildup of toxicity, to where we lose a consideration of the next because of our opinions and our perspectives needing to be right or needing to be heard. Most of us as children, we always, you know, probably had moments where, you know, we were telling the truth and no one believed it, or no one seen or knew what happened to us, as if we were being ignored or neglected. And so now with our behavior responses, we have those very same traits as we go out about life. And even we've witnessed it here on social media, where we can't hear each other. And where no matter how hard we scream through the phone or the computer, or no matter how emotional we become, or no matter how much we attack one another with words and slander and slurs, it's usually a fight to be heard, a fight to be right.
My thing is though, what if life isn't about finding some right God so you can go to some heaven, or living in some way so you can be good enough to get to heaven? What if it's about living your heaven on earth because you did not allow people to sway you from who you actually are with their opinions? Who are you? For many of you, that's a tough question to answer. You may give me a name, you may give me your profession, but that can't be who you are, because other people have your name, other people have your profession. So who are you? Are you comfortable with that? Do you know? This is why I say do that inner work and find your higher self, because ego does not exist. Again, it's how people see you, or it's how you see yourself. Image, however, is how people see you. Take no thought for either. Okay? Your image or your ego is just as real as a pound, an inch, or the words that we have created and are still creating to communicate with. Sure, they are accepted, but we only use these as tools to navigate this world. Okay, north, east, south, and west has nothing to do with the earth. It's just our way of finding directions, right? Longitude, latitude. These things are things that we create. They don't grow in nature. You understand? You don't see shapes growing in nature, octagons, squares, circles. Okay, you don't see these things, but we accept them in which we navigate, right? So we all know what to do if we see a large octagon, because we've been taught to accept this as something. And yes, learning these things can help you survive in our world, but they're not real. Do you understand? What is real is who you truly are, not these words. People's opinions of you begin to affect you. They hurt your feelings, right? But what's feelings? You can't touch this, right? Feeling is a word, it's a concept. So when someone hurts your feelings or hurts your ego, we always say that we're hurt. But what we really should be doing is looking for the root of it. Why are you hurt? Because feelings aren't really real. They're not really something you can touch. It's your way of describing something. It's almost like getting mad at your car and saying, you knocked my check engine light on. The check engine light is not the problem. Your feelings are not the problem. They are merely a tool to help you recognize that there is a problem. So when your feelings are hurt, don't be mad that your feelings are hurt. Do internal work to find out why.
Now, with this, let me break that down for some, okay? Most people, sometimes in the Black community, there's a struggle with communication and boundaries, right? I know a lot of people grew up like this. My mama say, every room in this house is mine. And when she get mad, she say, you ain't got no room. That room is mine, right? And so, even though she meant well, especially in the moment of discipline, because 9 times out of 10, I did something wrong, right? But in most instances, some of those boundaries aren't taught within ourselves. And then we have lack of communication. The elders back in the day, they say you being disrespectful only if you disagree sometimes, or if you have a question, or you know what I'm saying. um uh Even with arguments with social settings and peers, not necessarily hearing the point or understanding the moment they see that you disagree, or the moment you see they disagree, it becomes a lack of trying to figure out a way to communicate. So now it becomes, hurtful and effective. We don't we have to figure out ways to communicate, and we have to find ways to set in boundaries for ourselves, and that way we can have boundaries for others, and that way we can be able to be more receptive to perspectives of others. Just because you see something differently than me does not mean that you are a bad person. And once something is said to me and it hurts, or it's assumed to be something that hurts, it doesn't mean that it is a bad thing. It's just a note that something right there is an opportunity of growth that I need within myself. You get what I'm saying? It can sting a little, but sometimes when you have the lack of understanding, the lack of communication, the automatic assumption is that it is bad. And that's not always bad. Sometimes it's growth, an opportunity to grow. What I'll say is this. Most people, they talk about going through healing, and how they have changed. But me personally, I don't see myself as changed. I see myself as being able to accept it all, because we find a hard time trying to accept the bad things that we've done. Or we try to become good or be good. Or sometimes if we're bad, we're extremely bad. But once we find the balance, once we find acceptance of all the good and the bad, we become so balanced and so equaled out that it's so easy and freeing. That is true healing. The process of healing can be very dark, especially in the beginning, if you're not understanding. But the moments where you start to question the things that has happened to you, how it's affected you, how you've become it because of it, where did it come from? Why did it happen? Why did it come from that? And understand all of these questions, healing becomes an easy thing. It no longer stings when something is said and it's supposed to hurt, or we're so used to it hurting. It becomes enlightening. It becomes something that you can evolve from.
This will lead you to who you are. See, when I do internal work to find out why my check engine light is on, instead of just getting mad at the light and wanting to have somebody turn it off because it's going to come right back on, right? Instead of doing that, focus on the motor, focus on what's under the hood, and you will find out what's making this light come on. And then you can deal with it. As a result, the light will go off. As a result, your anxiety, your depression, your pain, this linked to these feelings, these emotions, will also subside. You understand? So take no thought for how people see you or even how you see yourself. Just do the internal work. Perception is so everywhere. Okay, it's so subjective. Take me, for instance. On one hand, I'm seen as a person who is an antichrist, leads people away from religion, right? Seen as an apostate. Preachers warn their congregations about me. On the other hand, I'm seen as a person who was subjected to religion at a young age. Upon realizing that it was programming, I told everyone about it, about what I experienced and what I've learned. And in doing that, I set many people free from religion and still continue to set people free and be there for those that wake up even to this day. Do you see how the perception changes? It's very subjective. Both are true from how they see the world. Both are true for how peepholes, peepholes see me. That you're only looking through a small lens and you can't see the whole picture.
See, and I want to elaborate on that because with this saga and with the story of, Kevin Wesley and the accusations, a lot of people have had perspectives and perceptions, especially with the divorce situation. We had people who saw it in favor of the wife, and then we had people who saw it in favor of the husband. And this is what I say to everyone. Everyone has their own journey. Everyone has their own place in life. You get what I'm saying? No perspective is necessarily wrong or right, but they're both right and wrong at the same time. And it's okay. But the moment that we become judgmental or hurtful towards one another because we don't necessarily see it the same way, that is when we're stopping the process of growth within ourselves. That is the process where we're stopping the understanding for our own selves. Now, me personally, I have been in favor of the husband in defense and understanding that he was not an abusive man. You get what I'm saying? Based upon the information that was placed out, based upon the things that was orchestrated on the internet, I saw things from my own perspective. But does that make me better than anybody because they saw different from me? No. Some things they probably didn't see. Some things they probably didn't hear. Some things that I probably missed. Some things that they probably missed. This is how perspective works. We are all individuals. Some people saw things in favor of the wife. Some people understood that certain things weren't necessarily portrayed in the front or on social media. All of these things could be understood. The battle between adults on the internet should never happen. And it did. Even with me sometimes, I got angry about a lot of things. But this is about healing and growth and understanding that we all have to coexist in this life together. We all have to be in this world together, in this bubble we call Earth together. And how is it that we're going to be able to make it? How is it that we expect it to be something comfortable for us if we deny the comfortability for another?
So if someone's looking at you through the peephole of a door, they can't really give a clear description of you, right? This is what people are doing. They only see this out here. Even if you're walking around seeming to be a mean person, they still don't know who you truly are. They can say you're mean, but they don't know what you go through at home. They don't know what you went through as a child that made you the way that you are. See, they don't know that can be fixed. They just say that person's a mean, that person's a jerk,
It is the passions and the emotions that we have within our own experiences that deny us the ability to accept others in their passions and experiences. This is all trauma responses. We saw this on the internet where things got out of hand because of the 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 disapproval of each other's perspectives, the stance that make it harder for everyone to see the truth within every perspective. Well, I don't like this and I don't like that, and she did this and he did that, and this was done and this is happening, and I don't believe this and I don't believe that. All of that is because of built up emotions. All of that is because we find something that we relate to within our own experience. Sometimes your experience can be your own blockage from growth because you're not willing to see it from another point of view, except for the point of view that has affected you personally. But if you're willing to let it go, if only for a moment, you'll be able to see something different and grow. And that is healing. That is growth. It hurts so bad because I know it happened this way. I know this is the truth. I know I went through this way. And so a lot of people block their growth. I said it one time like this. I said, we're all on that staircase to heaven. And with every step on that staircase to heaven, there is a new perspective. There is a new viewpoint of things. And you deny yourself of that next step on that staircase to heaven because you want to hold on to what you experienced on the staircase that you're standing on. This is the truth. This did happen to me. And that's why the next step never happens for a lot of us. We have to be willing to consider to see it differently, not to take away from what happened to you, but so that you can see what is happening next, what is happening now, and what was the purpose of that before, to get to the next step on the staircase of heaven. The ego does not want you to let it go. The ego wants you to hold on to it. But the ego, that is how the ego becomes your enemy. And a lot of us have pride. Basically what the ego is, pride that we don't want to put to the side. It becomes our defense. It becomes our anger and our frustration. And this hinders our growth and our healing.
Person's a narcissist. Are they right from their perspective? Absolutely. But this is why you should do internal work. Take no thought for what they're saying, family. Go inside of you, find the truest you, and let that person shine through. And I guarantee you, it'll be beautiful. There's only one you, and your goal is to find that person. If you do that, you're doing the world an amazing justice. There's something inside of you that our world needs. And if you allow yourself to be held captive to other people's opinions, how can you truly become you and do what you were meant to do? How can you truly shine and let your glory show if you're being someone else? If you're fitting inside of everyone else's opinion box, right? People are always going to tell you what they think you should do, how they think you should look. Forget what they say. Go inside of you and don't worry about what that looks like. What's going to be.
Also, try to find an inner understanding of the things that has affected you so that you can go about in your purpose with more healing. Most of the times, the things that we go through in life, in our journey, even through our traumatic experiences, these things aren't for us to understand, but for us to use as a tool to help. But how can you help if you hold on to these things? If you hold on so much so that you can't see it in a perspective to heal from it. You know, they say narrow is the path and only few will find it. Most people can't find the path because it's lonely and at times very dark. And it's a very fearing thing. And we find comfort in staying safe because a lot of us are in survival mode from the effects that we've had from trauma. And so we don't want to go through that dark space in order to find this path because we've become confident and secure in our comfort of our ego, protecting us from being hurt from things that we don't understand. And that is the part of growth that we have to get through.
Projected out of you, it's not an ego, it's not an image. It's going to be the truest you. Let that person shine. And even then, yes, people are going to judge you. Even then, people are going to give their perception of you. But I promise you, you'll be in a happy place. That happy place is what we call heaven. When you can go to that place in your mind and truly experience bliss, you'll be in heaven. You'll be in a blissful place, happy, knowing that you found and connected with the real you.
See, most people, they'll say, well, I'm happy. I'm already happy. But the happy that Kevin is talking about, the heaven that Kevin is talking about within the mind, is an experience that a lot of us has never experienced. And I have. I had to heal from things that I went through in my life. I had to heal from trauma. I had to heal from, becoming something based upon the effects of trauma. I had to rediscover who I was. I had to understand that those things weren't necessarily me. My ego wasn't for me. It was holding me hostage to the bad things that has happened to me. And I was in a dark and lonely place because it's so scary, because you don't understand what's going on, and people don't even understand what's going on, because most people think that healing is a part of just moving on in life and keep going. But sometimes a standstill, just standing still and addressing these things, that's the true healing. Addressing them in all aspects. Get every corner. Get under those rugs. Get in between those curtains, creases, and the creases. It's the darkest place sometimes, depending on how far we've gotten in within our trauma. But there's a light and there is a heaven in your mentality that happens. It's the changing of mind. It's the change of your understanding. It's the change of your perception. It's the change of your communication. It's the peacefulness that you've always wanted, but somehow could never seem to get to.
Understand that. And in doing so, imagine how many people you will affect, how many people you will encourage to go out and be the real them. So that's the thing about it. So many of us go out and dress in these personas because we are afraid of what's underneath that mask. We don't want to show ourselves to people because we feel like they won't accept us. We feel like they will judge us.
Break room. Shout out to you for coming through, Queen.
But we cannot be that way. Fear, false evidence appearing real. You've never even shown anyone your real self. Yet you're afraid that if you do, people won't accept you. What evidence do you have to support that? And why does it matter? Why does that matter?
The greatest voices that you will ever find are the ones who aren't in consideration of fitting in. The ones who aren't in fear of being accepted. And everyone has an opportunity to be that very voice. But we have to figure it out what it is that makes us blend and makes us agreeable to everything, including toxicity.
A butterfly does not care if you think its wings are beautiful. It can fly anyway, right? Fly anyway, beautiful souls. Be who you are supposed to be and enjoy that. Go inside. Don't worry about how everybody else perceives you. All that stuff does is pull you outside of you, and you'll be forever trying to please all these people. They're not going to where you're going. I always say, look at life like we're on a highway, right? When you're driving up that highway, there are other people on the road with you, and they may critique how you drive. They may honk their horn as they ride by because you go.
Peace to you, free mind. Thank you for coming through. And see, this example right here is, I like to give this example because I notice a lot of the content creators, especially the ones that I follow, they're so free. They are just themselves. They are who they are, and that's what makes them great leaders, make great content creators. Break Room is one, Chatty Cathy's one, Lupac is one, Latte is one. You guys, you ladies are like, you guys are your own individuals. Miss Jimmy, thank you for coming through, Queen. and you're able to tell truths even when it's hard, when it's difficult. You tell truths, you know? Um, and that's the freeing part. Being able to be who you are and not allowing trauma to bend you or fold you into being accepted. You know, perspectives. You get what I'm saying? But considering your own perspective. And not only that, but allowing the opportunity for your perspective to be changed. That's wisdom. That's wisdom. You know, we got to see wisdom and understand that it's okay for perspectives to change. It doesn't take away from your story, it adds to it. This is how the story continues. If you hold on to your experience and you don't allow yourself to grow from it, you'll never continue your story. You'll never continue your journey.
Going too slow. But they're not getting off on the same exit as you. They don't have the same destination as you. So if they honk their horn and stick their birdies, let them ride by. Don't let them affect you. You focus on that road and get yourself to your destination safe and sound. And you want to make sure that when you arrive at your destination, that you still have the energy, the willpower, the tenacity, and the confidence to do what you came to do. Because if you're not careful, you'll get in that car, have a destination in mind, and the only way you're going to allow these other drivers to make you mad, right? Get you out of your focus, right? Distract you, right? Get you off of your track, right?
How many of us can say we saw a lot of distractions, a lot of emotional distractions, a lot of attacks, and a lot of hurtful things that cause us distractions from points, important points, especially within the topic? You get what I'm saying? Um, these things never necessarily get resolved because at times we find ourselves, you know, including into these distractions because of the effects that they have on us. You know, I'm not an argumentative person. You know, naturally I'm not I'm really not good at it because I really care. You know, when I get mad, I can get extremely mad, and I can say things not in a way of argument but straight to the heart, you know, and it hurts me more. Or, um, so I try to avoid situations because it only makes it worse. Because now we're not debating the points or the perspectives. Now we're discussing what was said to us, what was done to us. You get what I'm saying? And a lot of people don't want to see themselves and the parts that they played a role in that situation. So thus they lose the process of growth and healing for themselves. These these are the things that are important. You know, seeing yourself, awareness of self, because along my journey, these people and these distractions, they will fade away. They are a moment in time, and the moment can end just as fast as you allow it.
Of where you're going. You're going to be road raging with people, arguing with people who they have nothing to do with where you're going. But you're going to stop and argue with them. Why? They have no effect on you. I don't care what they said. Let them go. Right? Because if you do that, by the time you make it to your destination, you're going to be bitter. Right? You're not going to have the energy to perform. You're not going to have the confidence to perform because now these people have your mind. You understand? You can truly be in one place and your mind be in another. Your goal is to pull all this stuff into one person, right? Look at some of these athletes. We can see a player who has all these different talents and skills, and we'll say, man, what happened to them, right? They're not playing as good. Their skill sets didn't go anywhere. Their mind is not there. Your mind, body, and soul are acting as one. Don't let people walk away with tidbits of you when they come and give you somebody and tell you that's you. Every time you allow somebody to give you who you think you are or give you who they think you are and you accept it, they walk off with a piece of you. They walk off with a piece of you, right? Take that back. You don't have to go to them personally and get it back. All you have to do is just do internal research, internal search. and watch what happens. By the time, if this, try this, imagine this during meditation, go inside of yourself, ask yourself, what have I been told about me? What have I accepted about me? Right? When you finally do away with that, open your eyes, and I guarantee you, when you look in the mirror, you'll see a new person. And then what I want you to do to prove that is to go out and be a new person. So if you lack discipline, if you lack inspiration, go inside of you and find it. Go inside of you and get it back. If you lack confidence, all that stuff lies inside of you. It does not come from somewhere outside of you. It's already in you. You just need but to go get it, family. Be evolution, be the change that you want to see. And no candle loses its flame from lighting another. And if you were to ever find yourself in the middle of chaos, it is in that chaos that you have found yourself. Rise, family.
Now we've been listening to a lot of accusations about Kevin Wesley. But that is the Kevin Wesley I speak of. That is the Kevin Wesley I know. That was the understanding I learned from Kevin Wesley. A lot of people, we go through a lot of things in this world. It's a hard world, and a lot of the times very cold. And sometimes we can get very lost in trying to find, that love or acceptance, and never realizing that it's within us, that's where it starts. A lot of complications in the world can slow down once we become accepting to the love of our own selves. We as adults, we don't have to argue with each other. We don't have to attack each other. There was a lot of people being doxxed, and a lot of family members being included in arguments, a lot of pictures and tauntings and such toxic and what I would call childish behavior. And most of the time, when I saw these things, it's because I knew that a lot of people just wanted to be heard. And so they made the loudest screams that they can make, which is a tantrum. It's the loudest screams that you could ever make to be heard. Because who wants to be mistreated? Or who wants to feel embarrassed or shamed? Or who wants to be wrong? And that is the ego that is denying you of peace and freedom. The truest freedom that one could ever have is the freedom that they give to themselves. I wasn't going to stay long with you guys, but I saw everyone and, making their peaceful journeys. And, as I continue to discover and unfold within my platform, and especially with my topic of Kevin Wesley and his beautiful family and the wisdom, even the wisdom his wives give. You get what I'm saying? I want everyone to have this moment as well, to find healing. A lot of us came to this story because of narcissistic abuse or DV violence, or even just being able to see the situation for what it was and saw that it wasn't right. So this is an opportunity for everyone to find healing from even just being a part of the saga or even find healing from the things that has affected us, that caused us to be able to relate to the story within ourselves. People talk about healing all the time and not necessarily are able to give you the full understanding of what that necessarily is, or what is the process of what that is. But I can be the first to say that I have found that for myself. And so if anybody is willing to have that discussion so that we can make that an easy understanding for a lot more people, I'm most definitely willing to have that, because I have definitely seen firsthand in this situation on social media that it's not necessarily clear to a lot of us, But thank you, Negro Rav. Thank you so much. But peace and blessings to you all. Love to everyone. It is a dark and lonely road at times. But when you find comfort within yourself, nothing is ever dark again or ever lonely. But it will be peaceful. It would be heaven. And then you're sure to realize that the ones next to you aren't there to give you that comfort, but they have accepted themselves and you have accepted yourself, and you guys coexist together with that acceptance of yourself. Peace and blessings.